All right, B team, we're back. It is a different episode today. We're on Zoom. Producer Gas wasn't feeling well. I don't feel like getting sick. Mike is on airplane coming home from Florida on another vacation. Mike takes a lot of vacations. Starting to realize that, and he never brings me on them with him. Um, but yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, and it's involving free agency, movement from team to team. Lots of stuff is going down, and I have a little bit of breaking news for you and your Jets. The Jets have now released wide receiver Corey Davis. I know that's going to really hurt the team. He was a beloved member of the Jets organization by the fans. Did a lot for him last year.
Right. So he
That was a
retired.
crazy one to come through.
He retired right before the season last year. And what they just did was they released him from the retirement list, which I didn't know was an actual
Yeah,
thing. But the reason they did that is because he's coming back to the NFL now. So he may come back to the Jets or he may go elsewhere, but I could see the Jets actually bringing him back, possibly.
that would be that would be unreal. Being that when he retired, the Jets had to release a guy that was literally like struggling to pay the bills to fill a spot because Corey Davis left. And then they brought Aaron Rodgers back, did the same thing. Like the Jets just got to get it together, man. And I
I
feel like
think
actually, I take that back. I think they have kind of gotten it together because their moves have been pretty good.
they had a good little free agency, and I think Corey Davis just told the front office that he's going to be taking a year off with Zach Wilson at quarterback. And
Yeah,
now that hopefully Aaron's coming back, he's back on the team.
dude. I mean, an Aaron Rodgers led Jets team with you got guys like Alan Lazard, who was good with him in Green Bay. You got guys coming back that are young. Like the offense is getting better. Nathaniel Hackett can't get worse. Like it really is only up from where he was. Like there's no reason that the Jets can't put something together this year, especially because the Buffalo Bills have essentially torn apart the entire team. Like they are in a full on rebuild. Got New England, and no one knows what they're going to do this year. They could be the worst team. They could be middle of the pack. They could be the best. No one knows. The only really sure thing in your division right now is that the Dolphins will probably be good again, but it's how good. Can the Jets keep up with them?
Yeah, the Dolphins lost a lot in free agency too. They made a couple good signings, but they lost Wilkins. They lost a few other guys on the defense. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
The Jets had a good, I don't want to get into the Jets too much, but a couple good signings
Yeah.
so far, bolstered the O-line and didn't pay anybody too much, just nice little budget deals, filled some holes on the roster.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, today we're going to get into a bunch of the free agency stuff. Do you want to start with your number three? We're going to do like kind of a top three of our best pickups in free agency, best signings. So yeah, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, so for my number three, in my top three free agent signings, I had Christian Wilkins to Vegas for 4 years, 110 million. I think D
Yeah.
line was D tackle specifically was their biggest hole in the roster. It was their biggest team need.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a perfect addition to address that.
Yeah.
Christian Wilkins has been a Pro Bowl caliber player in Miami. He's probably the best run stopping D tackle in the league. His pass rushing has gotten better too. And the Raiders just didn't really have too much on the defensive side. Alec Pierce came in and the team, they kind of rallied around him. But Max Crosby was really just single-handedly carrying that defense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if a single player has done more for a defense than Max Crosby has in the last few years, but now you pair him as an edge rusher with one of the best D tackles in the league. That's got to be number three for me.
No, I agree with you. Like that Raiders team, you look at it last year, there's a number of games that they probably did enough offensively to win the game. It was just the fact that their defense was a one man army. Yeah, if Max Crosby got hurt, which he was hurt for what sounds like the whole season with different injuries, and they were pretty serious. I think he had 3 surgeries after the season was done. Like the dude was out there playing better football than I ever could, and he was basically on one leg and half an arm. So what he did was one of the more impressive things I've ever seen in the NFL in my young life. But with that addition, I think a lot's going to be taken off his plate. I think he still will be in that defensive player of the year talks. I mean, a guy like that's always going to be, but this defense will be up there now with a chance to be an actual contender. You know, like the Jets had a very good defense. They just didn't have the offense. The Raiders, I think, have some offense. They just don't have the defense. So this could change everything for them out there in Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Just having those two guys changes the whole D line.
yeah, no, I agree. And I'm gonna go into my number three here for something that I think was I'm gonna stick with Mike here. It was unneeded, unnecessary. They tampered. The Eagles signing Saquon, great signing. But did they really need it? I don't think so. But let me tell you, that storyline is one hell of a storyline. Saquon going to Philly, they're going to be doing a tush push every play. Every play. Now, my biggest question that I've said would be the biggest question for a long time now is how do they fix that O line? Because they're losing the heartbeat of it in Kelsey. So, how important was he to that tush push, to that run game? We're going to find out real quick. If it's a major problem, he might burn to the ground.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think that makes them a lot better. I think it changes the whole team. I mean,
Yeah.
just bringing in Saquon, it changes that whole offense. I mean, they have probably a top three group of weapons now on offense if you include Smitty, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, now Saquon, Jalen Hurts' running ability. I mean, there's not too much you can say about it. Everybody knows that they're loaded with the weapons, but we'll see if Kellen Moore can use them right. I'm not sure that he can.
That's the thing about this. Like every time I look at this team and I make these comments and people are like, no, there's no way this team doesn't win. Like they got weapons at every shot. Like you're forgetting a key component. There is a man named Kellen Moore that everywhere he goes, he just destroys it. He destroys it. He went to Dallas, looked really good on paper, but he destroyed the team. Goes out to LA where the offense was really good. You got one of the best premier quarterbacks in the league. Young guy, everything ahead of him, already a top five quarterback, most likely going into that season. Kellen Moore has made him a bottom half quarterback. Like, I hope that he comes out and plays well, but Kellen Moore needs to go to the XFL more than any coach. Like this, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even use Saquon. He didn't want to use Zeke, so why would he use Saquon? The only reason he would use Saquon is because he's going to be forced to. It baffles my mind that the Eagles would do this. You've seen what Kellen Moore does. You guys were all happy that he was the Cowboys OC for so long, and then you just go sign him. Like it makes no sense. That might be the dumbest signing of the year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
But
I'm not sold on Kellen Moore either. But on to number two. So for me, number two, I had Derrick Henry on a 2 year, 16 mil contract. They just got one of the best running backs of all time for 8 mil a year. There's a lot of
that's unreal.
yeah, a lot of talk recently about how valuable the running back position is. But I mean, this guy is a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best to ever do it at his position. And you get him for 8 mil a year. That's a player who's gonna just entirely change what that offense and that whole team looks like for 8 mil. Um,
Mhm.
I think that signing is one of those signings that's really like a perfect marriage on paper, at least, because you have the Ravens, who are they have one of the top zone schemes in the NFL, and Derrick Henry has been like the best outside zone rusher in the NFL. You're pairing his ability with Lamar Jackson. It's just going to be such a deadly offense. And for the last
Yeah.
few years, you hear people talking about Derrick Henry possibly regressing. Don't draft him in fantasy this year. It's going to be the year he finally starts going downhill. He hasn't showed any signs of it, and I think this will actually be some of the best years of his career in Baltimore.
Absolutely. I mean, that team should run the ball every play. Run jet sweeps with Zay. Run Derrick Henry straight up the gut and just let him run over people. Run the triple option. Bring back RG3. Like this team should run the ball every play. They're going to be unstoppable. Unstoppable. Now I say this and watch them lose week 1 by like 20. But this team is unstoppable. And my last thing on this Derrick Henry signing, Jerry Jones, what are we doing? You say you want to go all in. Your son's out here saying he's going to go all in. The only thing he's going all in on is federal crimes and road trips to the Bahamas. Like this is unreal. 8 million a year? You can't afford 8 million a year. It doesn't make any sense. You could have got any running back for 8 million a year. Any running back. You could have got Saquon. You could have got Derek. You could have got Mixon. You could have got anyone. You could have got Josh Jacobs. And now you could have got Aaron Jones. Like it doesn't make any sense what the Cowboys are doing. I've said it multiple times this week. I'm on to the year 2026. I might not even call it. I might null and void this season. The all-in season, null and void. If we win the Super Bowl, it doesn't count. Doesn't count. They lied to us. Lied straight to our faces. And Dak Prescott's going to leave at the end of the season. But back to this signing, Derrick Henry, there's a possibility that the Ravens will have 2 MVP candidates coming out of the season. Because Derrick Henry's now in a position where he's really going to shine. Yes, he shined in Tennessee, but he's going to a team that is going to open up a lot of options for him in every part of the game, every facet of the game. It's going to open up for him. And he seriously, this could be a year where we see a running back with serious implications in MVP.
Yeah, I mean when they had Greg Roman as their OC, he was he was heavy on the rushing attack, and you saw how deadly their rushing attack was with Lamar Jackson and a bunch of nobody running backs. I mean, I don't even know who they had. I think it was like Gus Edwards and Justice Hill.
They all got injured.
And that offense didn't work out because the way Roman used Lamar Jackson was kind of a little gimmicky. He didn't really unlock
Yeah.
Lamar's full potential, but I think now the sky's the limit for that offense.
Mm-hmm. There's no reason they shouldn't. Honestly, I don't think there's any reason they shouldn't win the division. And on top of that, I don't think there's any reason why they shouldn't get to the AFC Championship with this team. There's no reason. Let's move on to my number 2 here. Interesting one. Joe Mixon to the Texans. Now, the Texans' run game was very good. Mike talked really well on it the other day. Go listen to that episode from Tuesday. Joe Mixon to the Texans will help CJ Stroud out a ton. It will help that offense out a ton. And they're going to be getting healthier, obviously, as the season comes around. They had a bunch of serious injuries happen over the year. But this Texans team, it's an interesting one. Because do I think that they're a contender? No. But should they be pushing for an AFC Championship game? I think so, right?
Yeah, I mean, after what happened this year, I don't see why not.
Yeah, like this Joe Mixon's fantastic. If he can come back and be amazing and give the Texans what they need and kind of be that veteran leader in the locker room for a team that's relatively young, I think this could be one of the signings of the year.
Yeah, last year the Texans really overachieved with a rookie quarterback and really no running game at all. I mean, it was just a pass-heavy attack on offense. They didn't run at all. I thought Dameon Pierce was actually kind of a good running back before last year. I mean, maybe not, but now they have a guy who actually is a good running back. And we'll see what he gets done with CJ Stroud. I mean, that's a team now who has one of the best groups of weapons on offense too. Their receivers are great. They didn't all stay healthy last year, and Mixon doesn't always stay healthy either. But if those guys are all on the field, they're a dangerous team for sure. And they had some good signings on the defensive side of the ball too.
Yeah, that defense, it was good last year, but it's only going to get better. Like this is a team that, like, I'm don't know what to think because they should be really, really good. But when I think about Super Bowl contenders and teams that I think could make it, I don't know why, but I just don't think of the Texans. And I don't know if that's just because it's the Texans, but that's it'll be interesting to watch them this year. I hope they do really well because I like that team a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
I think they are kind of a
yeah.
Super Bowl contender just based on how far they made it last year. And
Mhm.
that was very their new team is very young, like the new head coach, CJ Stroud, and they're only going to get better from there. So they're going to be a perennial playoff contender. I think you'll see them playing Pat Mahomes in the postseason a lot with CJ Stroud.
Absolutely. Um, you're number one.
So for me, my number one had to be Russell Wilson to Pittsburgh. They got Russ on a one
That
year,
was mine.
$1.2 million deal. I mean, that's you pay special teamers more than that, and they bring in a veteran quarterback with a veteran head coach, a roster that's, I mean, pretty much ready to go. It's not the best roster in the NFL, but they have a good defense, some good weapons on offense, and they made the playoffs last year with who? Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett for half the
No,
season.
they made it with like a Division two NFL team.
Yeah,
That's essentially what they did.
but I
Like,
love this.
signing Russ, yeah, that was my number one as well. I think because Tomlin kind of wants Russ, like Tomlin's kind of had his hand pushed into a certain direction just based on how the seasons have gone. This is the first time in a little. Well, he inherited Big Ben too. So really, you could look at it and be like, all right, this is the first guy that Tomlin went out there and was like, that's my guy, I'm taking him, and went and got Russ. Just bit the bull and was like, I'm taking this guy in. And I think that Russell Wilson, he could really turn this Steelers organization around because this opens up a lot. You're looking at a Super Bowl champion, a guy that's been in the MVP talks. He's an All Pro quarterback. Like when's the last time the Steelers had that? It was Big Ben. No, they haven't had a quarterback in a while. And you look at some of the teams they've had, like they're making the playoffs with scrubs at quarterback, scrubs at running, scrubs at wide receiver. Like this could be the beginning of a year for them, couple years, where the Steelers can kind of say like, "Yo, we're back," especially in a division like theirs where all four teams are going to be competing to get those playoff spots and be pushing for the AFC Championship. I'm all the way back in on Russell Wilson. I was in on him last year. I called him dead the year before. Like I'm all the way back in. I'm dangerous right now.
And for me, the reason why I think this is such a good move is because it's pretty much the exact opposite of the move that Denver made when they got Russ, which was one of the worst moves ever. Now, this is the opposite, so could it be one of the best moves ever? We saw Denver just give up their whole entire franchise for Russ, just throw all their eggs in one basket, all the draft picks, all the money they could possibly give for a player you didn't know, like a guy who you didn't know if he was going to come in and it was going to really work with your team, which it didn't. But the Steelers do the opposite. They get him for 1 year, 1.2 mil, which is no money at all for a quarterback, and they're going to have a year to kind of try him out and see if he works with that team. And if he does, if they make a playoff run, I mean, I think they bring him back.
Yeah, they should. I I think Russ will be in Pittsburgh for a good 5, 6 years. I think he retires a Steeler.
I hope he does.
I
I
really
think
do.
him and Mike Tomlin just sounds like such a good head coach and quarterback duo. I think they really could be elite.
Yeah, and he's in Pittsburgh now. He's not out in Denver where like he dropped off the deep end in Denver. He's coming back into the picture, coming into an actual football team, a team that's going to be contending, a team that doesn't have Patrick Mahomes in their division. Like he just got dropped into probably the best scenario he's been in since the Super Bowl year in Seattle. And this, you could say the Steelers team sucks still. That's how good I think this move was for Russell Wilson and Steelers. Like I'm gonna get his jersey. I'm gonna be all in. Mike is in for a surprise when he comes back. Like I am all the way back in for with Russ. Like this is I am on the Russ MVP train at the moment. That's where I'm at on Russell Wilson.
Where I'm at is draft every Steelers player in fantasy. Pat Fryermuth, Najee Harris,
Mm-hmm.
George Pickens. They lost Deontay, but they still have enough to get it done.
Yeah, I'm actually excited now to see what they do in the draft because their draft just changed by getting Russ.
Oh yeah, I
So
don't know like where their
that's it.
holes are on their roster, but they could easily just go receiver. I mean, there's so many there this year. You could easily just pick up a guy at the end of the first who could potentially be a
Yeah.
star receiver.
Yeah, I think you gotta go out. They have running backs. They showed they can run the ball. They got to run it a little more, I think. But now that they got Russ, they can actually throw it. So the play action is going to be on. I think you go get a young wide receiver. You got Pickens. Like you have weapons. It's just about utilizing them. And I don't think that the quarterbacks they've had could utilize them. The defense is always going to be good in Pittsburgh. That's one thing. It's a constant. No matter what, even in their worst years, they're going to be good. Can this offense get back to that level where it was when they had Big Ben and they were going to Super Bowls and all that? So, yeah, Russell Wilson, man, he's back. He's
He's
back.
back.
Yeah. So I have one honorable mention before we go. Nick Bosa and Mac restructured their contracts to stay in LA. That's huge for LA. They're going to be on less money, and they're two of the best defensive players in the league. So LA is getting stronger. Then they're coming back. Harbaugh's going to get the boys buzzing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that'll be the best coaching they've had since Herbert's been there. And those are two huge deals for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's all I got tonight. I think we're going to go over a lot more with Mike on Sunday. We'll also have a special clip, special thing we're going to do. Gassetology is back. College basketball is here. It is March. So we will be back on Sunday. The brackets will be released. We'll have bets out, and we're dropping a parlay every day. I might do two a day, to be honest with you, because there's morning, there's afternoon. March Madness is about to get crazy, but we're doing a 24 days of Christmas type of thing for March Madness. I'm planning on putting out, there's 12 days of games. I might have like 15, 20 parlays put out for these people. We're going to do a noon session. We're going to do a 3 p.m. session. We're going to get all the games. I'm taking every game. People are not going to be, they're going to run out of money on me. Well, hopefully they don't. Hopefully they make money. That would sound wrong. So we'll talk about it on Sunday. But Gas, anything else?
Yeah, just watch our Instagram, watch for the March Madness picks. Muller's been on fire. He knows his stuff. He's gonna win you money. Watch for my bracket. It's gonna be out. I know nothing about college basketball, but I promise it'll be a good bracket. So ride with us, like the content, subscribe, all that. Till next time.
All right. See you guys.